Hello again. I have a syringe here and I'm going to use it to demonstrate that whether or not a vacuum has mass. Syringes are very good. If you get a nice big syringe like this, which you can get at very medical supply stores, it's very useful. For example, if you pull some air in the syringe and try to compress this, you can see that air is compressible, but it's very difficult to compress it. And the other thing you can do is get rid of the air and put the cap on and see how hard it is to actually pull this, okay? And you're creating a vacuum in there. And actually, if you pull hard enough, you hear a nice sound. It's very hard to do. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh the syringe and this thing here, which I'm going to use to clamp the syringe. Let's say I'm going to zero it. And now I'm going to weigh the combination. And it's 52.4 grams. I should say I'm massing it. Okay, now I'm going to pull out and clamp it out. This is harder than it looks. Well, maybe it looks hard. Oh man, there we go. Oh, there we go. So I have a vacuum here. Oh man, that was difficult. And now let's weigh it again. So we actually have the same thing we had before, but now it's a vacuum. And actually it's a little less, 52.3 grams. So it was 52.4 before, and now it's 52.3, a little less. So a vacuum seems to have negative mass. Well, the one thing different between this and the previous situation is now we have a larger volume. And again, because of buoyancy, there's a slight difference in mass, apparent mass. Okay? Now let's see what happens if we let air in. So buoyancy would not be in effect. I'll put it back on here. And now the mass is back up to 52.4. So letting that air in actually caused the mass to go up a little bit. That proves that air has mass. And a vacuum really doesn't have mass, but you have to take into account buoyant forces. You have to be careful. So when I pulled this out, I created a vacuum, but I also increased the volume of the system. So there's a vacuum here. I weighed it. And then when I let the air come back in, the mass is 1/10 of a gram higher, okay? And that's the weight of about 55 milliliters of air, all right? It'd be nice to have a more precise balance, and I do have access to one at Florida Tech, but here I only have this 0.1 accuracy or precision. So it's a nice little demonstration to show that air has mass, and a vacuum, although it might look like it has negative mass, does not really have mass. So thank you for your attention, and I'll see you next time.